working with the team. And unfortunately, there were some effects that happened, and sometimes it didn't. It seemed like the equipment was sabotaged, and I learned from yet another lieutenant colonel that a fellow by the name of Bob sabotaged the entire project. So John Alexander was a little upset over that, and he brought in another team from McDonnell Douglas to do a clear, not classified report, which I still have that report. And then after that, of course, the Canadian government did their experiments and kept it a matter of national security.
Of course. Now, I think that's, really interesting that we do know that people in the military are well aware of what you've been doing. It's not as if you have been, working away totally as like a hermit. They're fully aware of what you've been doing. Mm-hmm. And I guess, we've got to conclude that they are. So, I wondered if Judy wanted to ask anything and make a few points to follow on from this.
Hello. Yes, yesterday, Andrew and I were in New York City at Ground Zero, and we noticed a lot of interesting things continuing, like the fumes coming out of the ground still after this many years, and why it might not be, when does it stop? When this effect begins, why might it not stop?
Yeah, just to add to that, we understand one of the key things is that, in many cases, when you start your experiments, you can switch off the power, and the effect that you're generating will continue. We just wanted to get your comments, really, John, on that type of effect that we've seen at the World Trade Center, as Judy just mentioned.
The fuming effect.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to do a parallel here, I believe. And when I switch off the equipment, sometimes there's metal samples that have been analyzed by the Max Planck Institute that seem to be accelerated ahead in time.
Wow.
And the crystalline structures are always changing very fast, and the magnetic properties are changing extremely fast. So this is in regards to when I basically shut down the power, these samples, which are many of them, tend to alter.
Right.
Ongoing.
Okay, and I think the other thing which I wanted to really stress with this is something that in our research, or Judy's research really, and my looking over her shoulder, the whole energy question is one that we've been looking at, and a lot of people have said there is absolutely no way that directed energy could have taken down the World Trade Center towers, because the amount of energy, I think there's this figure, I don't know what it is, I think it's something like 5 times the total output of the Earth. And so these people say, that there's absolutely no way that you can do that because we don't have that technology.
But gravity is enough?
Or gravity is enough. That's another group of people that say that. And, I just wanted to check with you because it's very important that people understand the amount of energy that you're using in some of these experiments, and I wondered if you could address that question.
Oh, I would be happy to, sir.
Thank you.
The energy in the equipment has been measured at 100 to 400 watts. And when I was giving a demonstration for Maine News, the newscaster accidentally chopped the extension cord in half by accident and shut down the entire lab. So that's around 400 watts, the lowest power. And if I'm using more modern equipment, of course, I'm up to maybe 1,000 watts energy to drive the systems and that. So I know what they're saying about directed weapons. They've been around a long, long time, actually. I was on the DoD's mailing list for exotic technologies, and some of the projects were directed energy, and as well as antimatter manufacturing.
Wow, yeah, I mean, that's something we haven't really looked at. I think that, we could really spend hours and hours talking about this. But
there's some interesting evidence that, however, that really caught my attention about Iraq was that, if you don't mind me bringing it up.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning because that's, you know, it is interesting that we've come across some of the pictures from there, and obviously it's a very emotive topic for a lot of people and a lot of listeners. But, you know, I think I've just mentioned to sort of link up to what you just said, that we did come across some pictures from there which showed some similar effects. So, yeah, if you want to... I
remember always that on mainstream news like CNN and that the Russians were running in there to retrieve all their documents on scalar weapons.
Right, right.
I remember that so clearly, but as history tends to bury everything.
Yes, I think sometimes it's difficult to get clear information, but what's certainly become clear to me, I don't know if I can speak for Dr. Wood, but there is, you know, a lot of this technology which has been completely hidden from the public, and I think matters like the one you just mentioned are actually more common than most of us want to accept or realise. But I think if we just sort of take us back to the energy question, and I think, you know, what you're looking at, for example, we've said already you're using perhaps 400, 500 watts of power, and, you know, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've been able to levitate a 70-pound cannonball at one time. I know this was, I guess, a few years back. Is that about right? Did I get that right?
Well, that's absolutely right. That was one thing we levitated, but hundreds, if not thousands, of things we levitated. The biggest being 1,500-pound transformer we levitated, which is a repeatable experiment. And most recently here,
wow,
about 1,000 pounds of equipment was shifted around very strong here, causing the fellow that was filming it to get sick, and as well as I found out just yesterday that in a two square blocks, everybody got violently ill for a second. I don't know what this all means because I haven't had this happen before, and I had another email come in late last night about the same thing, so it's kind of scary in a way that, but I'm not ill, and nobody below me or above me is ill, but this field is known to actually go out and disappear and reappear somewhere else, much like Tesla's experiments, the same kind of thing, where he was able to, by accident, blow out the Colorado Springs power plant 25 miles away from his tiny shed in 1900.
It's interesting. You mentioned a transformer weighing 1,500 pounds. My Honda Accord, I remember, was 1,900 pounds. It's about the same.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So if you can lift a transformer, could you lift a car?
Yeah, a car. We actually lifted in part, or twisted a building a little bit, caused cracks in it.
Uh-oh.
The mayor of this city came here, and he's a couple of years ago talking with me, a friendly fellow, Mayor Wright of New Westminster, and he was talking about he's giving reports of concrete cracking up as well as citizens in distress. And it seems when I do an experiment like I did for National Geographic TV and Film, I blew out the elevator, so they couldn't get their equipment down after the experiment. And just recently, for Fox TV, I was doing an experiment, and then some plumbing exploded downstairs. But I take in consideration, too, that when I was doing the McDonnell Douglas experiments, that we had a water main explode out in the street.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's written up in some of the text. So I've been through a lot of mischief, and they haven't.
Yes.
They have not burned me at the stake, thank goodness.
Maybe I should tell you what you say can and will be used against you.
Well, this is a good point. Thank you. Much needed.
Well, I mean, you know, we're obviously making this public for just those sorts of reasons. And I think one point I wanted to just dwell on for a second is that, you know, Judy and I, we watched the internet forums quite closely, and there are quite a number of people who are saying, you know, oh, John Hutchison can't reproduce the effects which he's, you know, makes. Mm-hmm. And I wondered, you know, what your response would be. I almost feel silly asking the question, but
honestly, I think they don't listen to radio or watch TV or read books, because I've been doing this quite regularly for Fox TV in 2000 and onward up for